Here with
Charlie.
Charlie, nice to meet you. Where are you from?
I'm from Hackney in East London.
Okay. Hackney born and bred, or where have you lived most of your life?
25 years in Hackney.
Okay.
So I feel very much from there.
And before that?
I lived in Swansea in South Wales, and I was born about 20 miles from London.
And how old are you, if you don't mind saying?
I am 67. I have to think about that, didn't I?
Before that. Okay, 67.
It's hard to believe, I know, but it's true.
Okay. So you've probably got a lot of experience of how things have changed over the years in terms of the UK's economy. So I guess the first question is, what do you do? What's your job?
Largely retired now, but I used to work as a journalist, and I'm still writer and author and speaker at political events.
Given that, what's your, if you're willing to say, your income and expenses? So what's your expenses on a month?
My pension from the state is about £880 a month, and then I pick up little bits here and there sometimes, and my partner is working in the National Health Service, so together we just about manage to get by.
Okay. And how much are your expenses? Do you have a mortgage?
No, we have paid that off, I'm glad to say.
Fantastic.
I was lucky. I was born in an era in which it was conceivable in Hackney for people on two fairly moderate incomes to buy a house. That's completely impossible now. My children will never be able to live in Hackney and buy a house because it's incredibly expensive. And that's one of the things that is really difficult for young people in Britain today. The question of housing is a central issue. There are many areas in which young people feel angry about society. The lack of opportunities, the threat of climate change, the feeling that they will never be able to have a job for life. But the question of housing is very important as well, because it leads to insecurity, the uncertainty about where you will be in a few years' time. That's a big issue.
Yeah. So that's a really good point that you brought up, that it's very hard for younger generations to buy a house now. If you don't mind saying, how much was your house when you bought it, if you can remember, you're willing to share?
I can remember it very well. I mean, I bought half the house. We pay rent on the other half. The house, a two-bedroom house with a garden in Hackney, the total cost was £64,000.
What?
So I had to find 32,000 for my house.
What year was this?
1996.
£60,000 for a two-bed house.
64,000
64, yeah.
for a two-bed house with a garden.
In Hackney.
In Hackney. And now that same house, £450,000.
Wow.
So, you know, my kids say to me, "Dad, what a wonderful bargain this was for you." Well, it is, but if they want to go there now, there's not a chance of them being there.
£500,000 is what it will cost now, effectively.
Nearly £500 million. Yeah.
Compared to your 64,000. I mean,
Exactly.
it's ridiculous.
Extraordinary, isn't it?
It's ridiculous the amount.
Ordinary.
Yeah.
This is why the only possibility for people is to rent. But of course, rents are very expensive as well. And at the end of it, you're just handing over money to a landlord to pay their mortgage, and yourself, you've got nothing from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just think, I mean, more generally, there have been changes, there have been continuities as well. There's still immense inequality in society, and still a society that's dominated by the rich. But of course, Hackney has changed. I mean, when I first moved to Hackney, one of the great things about it was there were people from all over the world there. The school that my first child went to, there were 14 language groups there. People from 14 language groups were at that school. And it was a well-known black area. That put some people off. It didn't put me off. I thought it was one of the good things about it, the mixing, the diversity of the area. Actually, it's become much less diverse. It's much harder for black people, brown people to move to that area and find somewhere to live and to join that society. It's become more discriminatory. And the lack of council house building, I don't know if you know the history of this, but right up until the 1980s, large numbers of people lived in housing that was built by the local authority, council, at cheap rents. It was easy to get into. Some of them were not great quality, some of them were marvellous places, but it was a possibility to get a place without being rich. Most of that's gone now. A lot of that's gone. And even the housing associations and so on that have replaced them are not of the same openness to ordinary people.
So it sounds like a lot of negative changes in terms of the economy and how the UK's economy has been run. Has there been anything that you think has been positive over the years in terms of how the economy has changed since your younger days?
I think there are positives. I think, for example, the fact that women are able to enter many more areas And although there is still a difference between women's wages and men's wages, some gains have been won in terms of equality. That's important, very important. I think the fact that companies and governments have had to recognise LGBT plus identities is important. I think the fact that there is less overt racism in society.
But you still think there is?
Of course there is. Of course there is. There is both in terms of employment and in terms of things like policing, in terms of how black people are viewed, and by the media, and, migration restrictions. And so, many, many ways that still exists. But you can't overtly, for example, say the sorts of things that people said in the 1980s. And that's a result of struggle. People who fought over those questions. Just as it is with women's rights or LGBT plus rights. Because people have campaigned and fought and worked for these things, that there has been a change.
I think Islam should be banned.
Oh, I agree with that. Now you're talking sense.
Islam should be fucking banned.
Yeah.
All fuck off. All the fucking Muslims, foreigners.
Go again, love. Frick off, yeah. Where should they go to?
I think white
Yeah.
have more racial abuse than any other race.
And so in terms of the rising prices, we've talked about astronomical house prices these days. People talk about many different causes for that in terms of labour shortages, housing shortages. What do you think are some of the causes for the ridiculous inflation that we're experiencing in the UK?
I think the central question, certainly with housing, is because the whole thing has been handed over to private developers. As I said, the key question is that of council housing. Once you kick away the possibility of people having council housing, they're then forced into the private sector. They have to compete one against another for what is produced, and there is no real social regulation of rents or house prices. And if we had, even quite right-wing governments in the 1950s built 1 million council houses a year. 1 million. Now, that was possible because of the pressure after the Second World War. But there's nothing on the same level now. And this then means that ordinary people are squeezed.
What impact, if any, do you think foreigners have had on the UK economy?
Positive. And I know there is a very strong narrative that will be put forward that all our problems are due to refugees and migrants. This is what Nigel Farage and Reform UK say. And in a slightly different tone, it's what the Conservative Party, the Tories, and even the Labour government say, that the problem is migration, illegal migrations, people coming across the channel or whatever. I utterly reject that. I think the problems are the super rich, the corporations, and the politicians who support them. Our enemy doesn't come across the channel in small boats. They come across in super yachts and private jets. And I think we have to find the right people to blame, not the wrong people to blame. In August of 2024, there were vicious riots in Britain, led by the far right, triggered, and they were using the appalling murder of 3 young girls in Southport, which they instrumentalized to try and attack migrants and refugees and Muslims. It was very important and very heartening that across Britain, large numbers of people came out against that and said they wanted nothing to do with that. And I think we have to stop Reform UK grabbing more and more of the vote in Britain, and Britain going the same way as Germany, where the AfD, the Alternative for Deutschland, has become a major source, the Rassemblement National in France and so on. We must stop the march of the far right and the fascists. It's very, very important. And that begins with saying our enemies are not people from abroad. Our enemies are up at the top of society.
How would you like to see the economy improve or change for the future?
I'd like to see the renationalisation of the things that were privatised in the 1970s, the water industry, which is in a terrible mess, gas, electricity, the postal service. I'd like to see trade unions have much more power in society. I'd like to see a higher minimum wage. I'd like to see the restoration of council house building, and I would like to see much more regulation of the people at the top of society and a drive against both corruption and profiteering.
With regards to nationalisation or renationalisation, do you think the government even has the ability to really do that correctly? They've shown in the past they weren't very good at it. Could they do it better in the future?
Well, much against their general ethos, the government has been forced very slowly and glacially to renationalise the rail industry, which it's in the process of doing. It may not be done very well because there's not much democracy inside it, but it does eliminate a vast amount of money that goes to shareholders' dividends, to high wages for executives and chief executives, and the money that goes into competition between various bits of those industries once they're privatised. So I think that whatever the difficulties, is, whatever the imperfections, it will be much better than what we have now.
With regards to the economy, any advice to anyone who wants to come and live in the UK or is living in the UK with regards to the economy?
Become a member of a trade union, find out how you can be involved in the activities of people who are fighting over the issues I've mentioned, and make sure that you see that these are collective questions, not simply individual questions.
Thank you so much, that was amazing. Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Korede and I'm embarking on an exciting challenge going from 6,000 subscribers to 10,000 subscribers in 1 month. I need your help to achieve this. I am a YouTuber, I make great exciting videos, traveling, asking people about hot topics. You can check out my videos, subscribe, follow, share and like. Let's hit this target of 10,000 subscribers in 1 month. Together we can do this. Let the internet unite and let's make this happen.